Hey, what's up and hello? This is the Chris Nicole giving you my views on life, love, and the world of entertainment through my eyes. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what time you are watching this live. Hello, crew. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Let's see who is in the building. Hey, Nene. Hey, Elizabeth. Yeah, we're about to get into this. We're going to get into the final part, season 2. I can't even say if it's final at this point. Seems like there's going to be a season 3. So, we're going to get into season 2 of The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, and how this time we are getting Natalia's whole perspective. Okay. So we're going to get into it. Let's start. So, as I said, this season is about Natalia's version of things that occurred. Okay. So, first we had Michael Barnett's sorry behind, literally giving his view of everything until the end, of course, when he was a scorned husband. So now he wanted to apparently tell the truth. So now we have Natalia's side. Hey, Dustin, how are you? Long time no see. How are you? So we actually have Natalia now speaking. And she is pretty much giving her view of everything that the Barnett said, everything that Michael said. She has a counter for what they said. So, and then after we see Natalia, we meet the mans, okay? The mans who are now Natalia's adopted parents. I think his name is Antoine Mans. I don't even know what the wife's name is, because Antoine Mans seems to be the one who constantly wants to be in front of the camera. But they pretty much introduced themselves and how she came into their lives 10 years ago, and pretty much how she met them when she was trying to walk to, I believe, the adult GED center. And she met them, she was trying to rest, and she came out, and the rest is history, and that became her mom and her dad. And at that point, we find out that they have 11 kids. Okay, now I have already told you guys how I feel about that whole situation. And again, this is just my opinion and my experience. Where I'm from, when you have people who have that many kids and they all foster kids, or most of them came from the foster system, I tend to side eye it, because it's like, is it really about truly showing these kids care, or is it about collecting a check? Now, of course, we see them in the first season, and of course, Shady Michael has the audacity to say that he feels that the mans are being shady, because one minute he actually is getting Natalia's SSI checks, which, interesting enough, let's talk about this, you guys, because he was getting the SSI checks, right? Because he did say that at one point the SSI checks was coming in his actual name, and then all of a sudden it went into the man's name as far as the SSI checks. If she was an adult, since they legally changed her name, why in the hell couldn't she collect her own SSI money? So all of this is just like shady, because as far as cognitive, as far as her mind is concerned, Natalia seems to be a very intelligent girl. So did they also try, you know what, now that I think about it, they probably sat up there and had all types of fake alleged documents saying that she was, mentally not there, because they already was calling her a sociopath. So no telling what they gave to them to make it where she needed to have like a representative to handle, I guess, her money. So, Michael is like, they're shady. All of a sudden that stuff is going into their name. I'm just going to continue, because I'm going to leave. I've already told you my opinion on what 11 kids, like 11 kids in this economy. Most of them look to be foster kids. Okay, so with that, we see them, and of course, they're giving their view and their opinion. Like most people in the public eye right now are looking at the Barnetts like, they are despicable people. And so with that, Michael, we get to where one thing I'll say about this actual season. This actual season is more believable, in my opinion, because Natalia is speaking, but there is proof to actually back up what she's saying. It's just not random people talking, not showing proof of who they are. We have detectives, we have paperwork, we have the detective speaking to her teachers, we have all of this stuff that backs up a lot of the things that she is saying. So this is why, in my opinion, and we can talk about it, why season 2 and Natalia's versions of things seem way more believable than what the Barnett side of things, what they were saying. So at that point, literally, she talks about her previous history with her being with the first family that adopted her in the US, and how she was with them for 2 years until things started to change. And she said while she was playing with one of the little boys in the home, she landed on his arm, I guess, wrong. And they scold her. And she said she kept saying she was sorry, she was sorry, she was sorry. And then all of a sudden, when he was scolding her, the father, she said, "I hate you." And then after that, distance began. And then the adoption process began. Now, look, this is what she's saying. I don't necessarily know if, I'm not going to call her a liar. I just feel like they may have maybe used that reason as a reason to say, again, it's costing too much and it's too costly and it's too much to have Natalia in our home. Like, honestly, she definitely, it would have probably been better with someone who had a lot more patience, who understands little people, or she should have been with a family who was, full of little people who understand the process, what she needs, the surgeries. And unfortunately, this girl was getting passed around, in my opinion, like she was some type of doll. And so at that point, when she says Michael lied about it being a closed adoption, because she says she remembers vividly how Michael and Christine talked to her previous family. So much so that when they went to Disney World after the adoption process happened, she saw the previous family, said, "Oh, there's mom," and Christine corrected her and said, "She's no longer your mom, I'm your mom." Now, let me ask you guys this. Does it seem to y'all that the whole adoption process of this was so shady? Now, we see the DePauls, and again, I at first I was getting confused because there were several little people that were literally on the show, but the DePauls, which I guess you guys were saying allegedly she's with them now, that was the first family that really wanted her to had the little daughter. They said that they thought they were going to get her, but then all of a sudden, apparently the first family got reported, I guess, to CPS or whatever the case may be, child services, and they allegedly thought that it was the DePauls, even though DePaul said they didn't do it. Then the next thing you know, they were like, "Okay, well, you can't have Natalia," almost like a punishment of some sort, because they thought that they reported them in some kind of way. I don't know about y'all, but this adoption process with Natalia just seems shady as hell. It just seems shady as hell. How it happened, how fast it happened. I truly just want to know what in the heck happened with all of these other families. All of these other families that were a good fit. It almost comes off, and I think I said this in the previous video, that they gave her to the highest bidder. That's the way it comes off, because clearly, as we see in this season, it seems that Christine was truly wanting Natalia as a pet project. That's pretty much what she wanted Natalia for. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing about love, nothing about truly grooming her to be a great woman in society. She saw her as a project. Let me see what you guys are saying. I feel like the screen people better when you try to adopt a dog than what exactly. It just seems so shady. She was able to see the fact that she was able to be around all these little people families, and how she was able to see these other people and be around the daughter, be around them to see it was a good fit. And then this was just a simple trade off. Seems very shady as hell to me. It almost seems like, oh, you're willing to pay this much for her? Fine, she's yours. I don't care what happens. It is what it is. Just very shady. Just extremely shady. So at that point, she said no. They met the previous family. On top of that, with the whole bathroom scene, when apparently they said she had, public hair. And I'm saying public for a reason, of course, you guys. She had public hair. She said that she didn't notice, hair herself at that age. But at the same time, she don't even remember Michael being in the bathroom. She doesn't remember Michael even being in the bathroom at that time. So already off the bat, it's like complete opposite, complete what Natalia is saying and what the Barnetts are saying. There is nothing that has similarities. It's just complete lie on both sides. It's like total opposite stories. So the problem is that, again, when you see Natalia's side, we see several doctors, we see attorneys, we see the prosecutor. They pretty much say that around the time they got Natalia, they dang on sure knew her age. They knew her proof of age. They had proof from her medical records. They had all of that stuff. So they were very aware of how old this girl was. On top of that, in this season, she actually gets DNA proof about her age. And we pretty much find out that she is, in fact, around the age that she is claiming that she is. She was born in 2003. They said, based off of her blood work, that she's around 22, but she's 20. So, in other words, she is, in fact, a child. Okay. So, literally, at that point, it's just like devastating because you can tell she's still traumatized by this. She's just like, how could they do this to a child? Like, this just proves even more I was a child and they just let me fend for myself. And so that point, it got to a point where they were like, okay, so why? Why was this done? Why did this happen? All right. So that's how it kind of starts off. We get to the basics, the background, but it's like, why did this happen? So at this point, they talk about how Christine came off like this huge genius, this mastermind of taking her autistic child, making him this genius. You know what I mean? Which honestly, you can't make someone a damn genius. I think that's the most stupid, idiotic thing ever. You could sit up there and get him the best education, but I would have to say that he already had that brain beforehand. Like, literally, like, so the fact that she was trying to take credit, you can just tell that we are dealing with two narcissistic people who truly were about themselves, in my opinion, versus the children that they were raising, quote unquote, raising. And how, because she did such a marvelous job with him, she wanted to be able to do that with another child. But my whole thing is this: you had two other kids. You had two other kids. So if you had two other kids, why couldn't you sit up there and use one of your other children as your pet project versus Natalia? Well, she looked at Natalia like, okay, not only is she special need as far as, having dwarfism and stuff, she wanted to be able to give the whole shebang of, I guess, she's adopted, she has dwarfism, and look at what I was able to do with her. That's what they're implying on this season, and how when that didn't work, it wasn't a part of the plan. she needed to find a way to get rid of Natalia. And Natalia described situations where, literally one minute she was in school, and I just, like I said, I have a big heart and I'm a sucker when it comes to kids. Just seeing the videos of Natalia, walking, saying hi, like she's playing, and her being really confused of being scolded and not know what's going on. Like, it just broke my heart. Like, it broke my heart into pieces what this girl was going through. And she talks about how, she was in school. All of a sudden, Christine claims that she was getting complaints. She was getting complaints about how she was running over people with her wheelchair. Hey, Yuli, she was running over people with her wheelchair. She was doing all of this stuff. And next thing you know, she takes her out of school. She doesn't have her friend next door anymore. And all of a sudden, she's trying to force her, telling her that she should understand these physics problems that she has in front of her. It's physics, it's high school, and she is trying to tell her, you should know this. And she's like, I don't know what this is. Well, because she didn't know what it is, Christine decides to pepper spray her. And pretty much prep like as a punishment because she was honest and said she don't know how to do that. And Natalia breaks down when she describes this. Again, this girl is literally 6 years old at the time, 6 or 7 years old. Pepper spray can do damage to an adult. I can't even imagine being 6, 7 years old, and I can't. I can't. So at that point, every time she's thinking about the things that happen, you can tell she's truly going back into that moment, and it's traumatizing the hell out of her. And so at that point, she's very wise because there's certain things that Natalia is saying. You can tell she's been thinking about all of this, and she is like, I think the reason why Christine did this, she never loved me. She just pretty much saw me as like this project. Like, she was talking like this. So you can tell that, she really has been thinking about this, and she's very wise. She's very wise. Like, she's very smart. Mind you, I think she was 19, 20 years old. She is not stupid by far. You can tell she's not. And so she's talking about this. And so first things first, she wants to actually speak. And again, I'm not possibly going in order. I'm just kind of going with the flow. She wants to actually speak to the neighbor, the scallywag heifer who sat up there and had a 6-year-old child herself. And she said, because what Christine told her, she was like, you can't play with Natalia anymore. She wants to go confront that woman and the neighbors, and wondered why didn't any of them attempt to stop what was going on or question what was going on. So she ends up going back to the old neighborhood. I'll get to that. But when I tell you, it was so sad how she was looking at the house. She was on the swing, and we saw her running from that playground that was across from the house when she had first got with them, and how she's now looking at this house like a house of horrors, and how it's just completely traumatizing for her. So with that, she ends up going to the neighbor's house. And you can tell Natalia really, she seems like a sweet girl, but she's trying to get to the nitty gritty. You can tell in her face, she's like, I ain't got time for this small talk. I want to know why. So she asked the lady why, and she was like, well, I kind of just believed her. I believed her, and everything that she said. And she was like, you didn't question it. Like, you didn't question what was going on. Like, the fact that I was taken away from my best friend, your daughter, like, was I ever bad? And she was like, no. She was like, well, I just kind of believed her. And so Natalia kind of tells her story a little bit to the lady. And then the lady is like, well, I kind of was afraid of her. And so at that point, I was like, well, who the hell is the sociopath? Because it seems like Michael claimed he's scared of her. This lady, the next door neighbor, claimed she's scared. How are y'all so scared of this grown woman, but yet she has y'all believing that this little child who has a disability is the villain, is the bad person, but y'all sitting up there now talking about how you were so scared of her? Like, make that make sense. Like, coward-ish to the 1000th degree. Like, seriously. You know what I'm saying? And she didn't apologize to her. You're absolutely right, Nene. She didn't apologize to her. No one is truly, in my opinion, giving a real genuine apology to Natalia. I truly hope that she gets therapy. She needs it. She needs it. She needs it. She says she has God, but she needs therapy and God. She needs both. God is first, of course, but she definitely needs a professional therapist, and she needs to really talk. She needs years of it. All the years of abuse that she went through, and then apparently the stuff that she went through even before that she couldn't even remember, and how things have been completely wiped out. She needs to. She definitely needs it. But with that being said, she talks to the lady. It's over. I didn't feel it was genuine at all whatsoever. To me, there was really no real apology given. So at that point, child, I'm like, where the hell can I really go from here? So they say that they go back and forth as far as Christine and her career, and how she made a career off of making money off of her kids, and how that book that she had, and I am not sitting up there promoting that dang on book. The book that she actually wrote, at one point, Natalia was in it. And then next thing you know, she was completely erased off of it. So at a certain point, I guess when Christine allegedly didn't feel like her plan was going as she wanted to with making Natalia this genius, she decided to act like she was erasing Natalia out of her life. And she started really, really abusing her, to the point where also we get to the whole menstrual cycle situation. Now, this was hard to hear. The menstrual cycle situation, when Michael claims that she said, "Oh, I've had my menstrual," Natalia says that Christine forced her to put a tampon in her. And this is trigger warning, you guys, trigger warning. She forced her to put a tampon in her and forced her to actually bleed. Therefore, that's what she was told to tell Michael. When I tell you, oh my gosh. When I tell you, it just sounds so devilish and demonic. It is just, my heart was aching for her. So she starts to describe all of the stuff that happened when she realized that Natalia wasn't going to be this prodigy child that I guess she wanted. So at that point, she starts talking about Michael too, because she said Michael's an accomplice. And I think we all agree on that. And if you don't agree, by all means, please put your comments below when you are listening to this live and let me know why you feel he's not an accomplice. So she says, I want to speak to him and I want answers. All right. That's where it is. And I'm not even done with that. I'm sorry. Let's go back to this one. She talks about how literally Christine put her in makeup and put her hair short to make her seem like she's older, and was trying to hook her up with this guy who was a little person, but he is a full grown man. And even the man allegedly even said that's what she was trying to do as well. Now, one thing that I find very interesting, and I don't think this is happenstance, notice that Michael and Christine both hired Black attorneys. Did anybody else pick that up? In Indiana, of all places. Not saying that Indiana don't have, of course, Black folks. Of course, they have Black folks, but it's not like it's really known for having a lot of Black folks. I think, as a matter of fact, the last time I checked, They said one of the top racist states in the country, like the top 5 states, Indiana is definitely one of them. I find it very interesting that both of them got Black attorneys. And at the same time, while I find that interesting that both of them got Black attorneys, I hate that they got Black attorneys. Because one thing about it, and it's so interesting because, side note, people always thought that I was going to be an attorney growing up because of how, I talk and the way that I'm all about justice and the underdog. Let's be clear, most of the time, a practicing attorney, depending on what type of attorney, criminal or whatever the case may be, a lot of them have to do a lot of shady stuff, and I would say almost practically sell their soul to protect their client. And so to me, in my opinion, what I saw with both of these attorneys, it was sickening to me, because I understand that they have a job to do to protect their client, but it was just almost like some of the stuff that the attorney was saying that with this scene with the makeup, oh, well, I could see how, because of how Natalia thinks, she would think something kind of like demented about that, or he kind of implied that. And I'm like, she's a child. I don't know any mother or parent at 6 years old is putting their child in full-blown makeup unless they're doing pageant work or they're doing, you know what I'm saying, like dancing or whatever. And even that, with dancing, you're not putting in full-blown makeup. So literally, I'm like, what are you talking about? So some of the stuff that he was saying really disturbed me. But I guess for someone who practices law, it's maybe easy for them to understand. But he was really talking about Natalia like she was a grown adult and Natalia was a child. But they are literally, to protect their client, ignoring all the facts. They're ignoring all the facts to protect their client. This is why I couldn't practice law, because you truly have to ignore your moral compass, your soul compass, your integrity, and everything just to protect the client. Hell no. Hell no. I wouldn't have any clients. I wouldn't have any clients, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel right to me, I wouldn't be able to do it. But they got to pay their bills. And to me, that's what it just didn't sit right with me. And the fact that they were both Black, I said, dang it, why? And in Indiana, of all places, it seems a little suspect, in my opinion. It seems a little suspect. I wonder if those two attorneys were their first choice or they were their only choices, because plenty of people was looking at everything and was like, I'm not taking this damn case. I wonder. I really wonder. But moving on. So at this point, when we hear all of this, she says she wants to meet with Michael. And this is where the hell, drama, gaslighting, manipulating, all of that stuff really, really freaking begins. So let's start off with the first time they try to meet, okay? The first time they try to meet, we have Mr. Mans, Bishop Mans. He is actually outside with Natalia, and he starts off with a prayer, but not just a quiet prayer saying, my daughter, everything's going to be all right. God got this. Oh no. He goes into full blown, the devil is a liar, because that devil in there is a liar. He's a liar. He going in, okay? And so I'm Christian. I'm sure y'all are very aware at this point. For those who definitely have been following me for a while, I am Christian, all right? But what I don't like is people trying to use their religion to manipulate. And in my opinion, some of that stuff was about manipulation, and some of that stuff was just as dramatic as Michael Barnett. So literally, he's doing all of that while the door is open, okay? Literally. And then the next thing you know, you hear Michael is hearing it. The attorney has heard it. The attorney even talks about the situation like he giving this prep talk like she getting ready for war. And so when she comes in, you definitely could tell she almost comes off like she's ready for war. Now, did the prayer kind of pump her up? I don't know, because I think that she has always been angry and upset about what happened to her. But she came down 10 toes down and she pretty much was like, why are we here? Why are we here? Right? And so at that point, yeah, giving TD Jakes, have you ever been swallowed? Have you ever been swallowed? That's the vibes it was giving. So, anywho, so with that being said, she's like, why are we here? And he was like, well, what do well, what do you mean? And she was like, why are we here? Why didn't you remove me from the home? Like, she's pretty much going back and for like, why did you adopt me in the first place? And so at one point, I didn't even hear him say the first curse word where Natalia was like, you know, please don't curse. Please don't curse. So with that, I didn't even hear it. But then again, maybe because I'm a cusser and I have a sailor mouth. Maybe I completely went over my head, but I was like, what word did he just say? I tried to do the captions and everything. I said, what did he say? So then at that point, he was like, okay, I'll try my best. I'll try my best. And so at that point, she's like, well, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And she was like, why did you even marry her? And he was like, that's one hell of a question. He said, hell. Okay. Now, last time I checked, hell ain't a bad word. Hell is used in the church. Okay? That was probably one of the first places I heard the word hell was in the church. So next thing you know, Bishop Mans. And you know what? Side note, why do they all have to be bishops? Bishop T.D. Jakes, Bishop Eddie Long, now Bishop Mans. Why are they all bishops? Isn't that interesting? They all bishops, not pastor, not reverend, but bishops. But moving on. Now all of a sudden, he's like, okay, I'm going to stop you right there. God is in control. God is in control. And I'm like, huh? You're cursing. God is in control. I said, he said hell. He said hell. So the next thing you know, the attorney gets up, Michael attorney gets up and was like, look, you can't force us. We can't force you to stop being a Christian, just like you can't force Michael to stop being who he is. Like, that doesn't work. Next thing you know, he says again, God is in control. He is own man, ain't he? God is in control. And so next thing you know, you hear Michael saying, I don't really want to fight. I don't really want to fight. And so next thing you know, the attorney and Mans is going at it. And then all of a sudden, Mike gets triggered. And I don't really call it a trigger. I call it the manipulation tactic. I'm done. I'm done. That's it. I'm done. I've tried. I've done everything I can. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. So literally you have these two drama queens. And let's be clear, I didn't know who I could tell. You know how they say when you see two fools arguing from far away, you can't tell who's who, which idiot, who's the idiot. Yeah, that's the way it was. Because to me, it was about who's going to get the most shine in that situation. It wasn't about Natalia at that point. It really wasn't. It wasn't about Natalia at that point at all whatsoever. I would have respected Bishop Mans, okay, if he would have sat up there and said, look, man to man, not even being a bishop at that moment, being a man and being the alleged adopted father of Natalia, man to man, please refrain from how you are talking, or whatever the case may be. But to me, it's not like he said the S-bomb, the B-bomb, the F-bomb. The man said hell. In my opinion, he just wanted to say something. That was my opinion. He just wanted to say something. Bottom line, there was no need for what occurred. to the point where literally Michael ends up leaving, saying, "Leave me alone," gets up in his funky little drop top, drives off. Natalia is distraught. She's crying and she's like, "I just wanted to speak to him, but he didn't have a right to talk to my dad that way." Natalia, look, baby, yeah, your father went too far. Like, it is what it is. I think she's seeing all of these moments as a way of protection, because in her opinion, in her life and what we have clearly heard, she's never felt protected before. But like I said before, her coming from a Barnett situation and the other situations she's come from, she would look at this couple like they're the damn Huxtables. But she don't know any better. She don't know any better. So of course she's looking at the situation, and she's young. She's only 19 and 20, as that was a way of protection, when I'm like, no, that was a way of gaslighting and for him to get his time and attention. So then he comes back in there and he does make a valid point about how, look, you a grown man and you claiming that this woman allowed this woman to do all of this stuff. Like, you're not about to come in here to play victim when the only victim in here is pretty much Natalia. I got that part, and I may have respected him more if he said that to Michael and literally said, like, look, don't start playing victim when it comes to Natalia, because I'm protective over her, and at the end of the day, she is the only victim in the situation. I would have respected him if he did that. But when you want to chime in and say stop cursing because he said hell and start screaming God is in control, you are not making any situation better. And honestly, you're making people who have questioned Christianity honestly roll their eyes. Like in this scene, I can see how people who be like, oh my gosh, like here they go with the Bible thumping. I can see how someone would be completely annoyed by that situation, because in that moment, you should have been a father, not bishop. That's what you should have been. But again, this was about you, in my opinion, getting attention just how Michael wanted attention. So with that, after that happens, they kind of go their separate ways. Of course, we see that she still talks about the stories, of course, and what happened to her. But then we find out more information about how no matter what Christine tried to do to Natalia was still protected. And honestly, I don't know who gave her the middle name Grace. I don't know who actually gave her that name. But when I tell you, every bit of grace and protection was around this girl. So many things could have happened to her that by the grace of God, it did not happen to her. So like, for example, when they were trying to legalize her or whatever the case may be, they tried to say she was age 22 because they found out that legally she was still liable to them at age 20. So they wanted to make sure completely that she wouldn't be liable. But here's the problem. They found out that because of her physical disability, she would always be a dependent. So no matter what they did, pretty much the law was stating otherwise. Then, of course, she talks about the whole pledge in a coffee situation, because, of course, what's her name? Christine, the scallywag heifer, said Natalia put pledge in her coffee. Natalia said that was not what happened. She was helping her clean. She moved the coffee away and sprayed pledge on the table. But then Christine came back saying, what did you do to my coffee? And literally forced her while recording to put pledge in it, while she forced her hand to put pledge in the coffee. Now, again, I do find it interesting that the stories are completely opposite. Like, it's completely opposite. Both sides are saying that the other side is a complete lie. A complete lie. Like, nothing is similar. Is that they're completely lying. And then at that point, one thing that I found interesting before we get to the second part of the interview, one thing that I found interesting is that Natalia apparently was still talking to the DePauls because the DePauls mentioned, and they saw her, they gave a picture of her when she had scratches on her face and apparently a black eye. This is apparently when she was in the Lafayette apartment. I was like, they had contact with her this whole entire time. Did you guys pick up on that? Because I was just like, wait a minute, they had contact with her this whole entire time. It made me wonder, where I was just like, no one picked up on, maybe, someone needed to check in on her or whatever, and maybe she was lying to them, but I don't know. I was just like, wait a minute, you guys were actually sending pictures and stuff, or she was sending pictures, like she had contact with them, which I found interesting, because at least that's what I heard in there. Y'all let me know if y'all heard differently, but I heard that they had contact with her when she was in these apartments. So she talks about the neighbor situation with the Westfield, Indiana apartments first, and how she said that, that she didn't understand boundaries because she was a child. And I'm like, exactly. Children don't understand boundaries. Hell, my little cousins and my god kids or whatever, like, I can't go to the bathroom in peace. They don't understand boundaries. So the fact that they were saying that, and we said this in the last video, she didn't understand boundaries. She was a child. She had not been able to function even as an elementary school kid because she was removed. She did not have any social skills, and she has been bounced around her whole entire life. What did people expect? But what pissed me off is that lady, the old lady, watching the video of what Natalia was saying, and she said, no, she was 22 years old. They even proved it. Natalia is just being Natalia. She's lying. She's just being Natalia. She even talks about how she could have easily gotten hurt because she went to this perv's house and he was watching some inappropriate things and was almost trying to see where things were going to go, but she, even at her age, felt uncomfortable and left. And the older lady even said, yeah, he was a perv, he was an issue, but but like Natalia, she seemed like she didn't care. When I tell you, it pissed me off. And this is what I'm saying. Sometimes these so-called nice neighborhoods, you have some of the most ignorant, trifling people who literally only care about themselves. Anybody who had any type of good sense and discernment would have known that that girl was a child. I didn't have to see an ID. I would have known she was a child. I would have known she was a child. So at that point, Natalia says, as far as the boy that they said that she was inappropriate with, she didn't even remember that. She said they was just playing. Here's my thing in the situation. I've never felt that Natalia is perfectly innocent. What do I mean by innocent? I feel like she's innocent as far as being a child, but what I mean by is that I don't know if she necessarily understands what is inappropriate and what is not, because no one has really ever taught her that. So what they felt to be was not innocent. It was innocent maybe in her mind because no one told her right from wrong. So that's what I'm trying to say. She's innocent as far as being a child, but we learned what was right and wrong because we had adults in our lives, some adult in our life that said, no, that's wrong. No, don't do that. You can't do this. She didn't have that. So even if she did do that to the boy, in her mind, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't wrong to her because no one told her it was wrong. And no telling what she was exposed to at a very young age, and no one ever told her it was wrong. So what I mean by that, she's not innocent, meaning that she has a lot of trauma. So, but in someone who's ignorant would be like, well, she's not innocent. Well, yeah, you think she's a 22-year-old? No, she's not innocent. But as a child, she's not processing things the same way. You know what I mean? So until she truly gets evaluations from genuine psychiatrists saying that she's a sociopath, I'm not believing it. I'm not. Do I feel that she definitely got some trauma? Hell yeah. Who wouldn't have the trauma with all the stuff that she's been through? And no telling what really happened to her in the Ukraine, but she said she knows something bad happened to her. She just can't remember a lot of it. And I've heard that too. I've even seen documentaries of that where people literally have had some of the most traumatic things happen to them that they are able to kind of block it out of their minds. And sometimes it doesn't come back until years later. So that does happen. And so she talks about that, and she even talks about her experience in the Ukraine orphanage and the horrible things that she went through there. So we get a deep dive into Natalia's experience before she even turned 10 years old. All of this stuff happened to her. Ukraine, families, selling her off allegedly, all of this alleged abuse, and literally living on her own in 2 different apartments, one in which she literally had to go up and down stairs, possibly was falling. She was literally without power for 3 days. The freaking food spoiled. Like, she went through all of this before she was 10 years old. Like, can you imagine? Before 10, going through all of this. Of course she got a lot of things going on. Of course she does. Of course she does. And that's why I said she definitely needs some therapy. She does. So, in my personal opinion also, they're talking about how apparently she may be doing a civil suit when it comes to the Barnetts. And she absolutely should. She absolutely should. In fact, let's take it further. She need to sue the state. Because how in the hell, with all of the proof that's showing she was a child, how was that legally changed? Besides the fact that you were dealing with and let me say it, 2 white people with money and popularity in Indiana and influence in Indiana that was possibly, allegedly, in my opinion, probably did some shady stuff to get that done. She needs to sue the state. She needs to sue every city. She needs to sue all of them. But that's my opinion. So at that point, she decides to give it one more try, and she decides to meet with Michael again. Okay. And so this time around, Michael is the one coming in. And it just really annoys me that this fool is riding in this sports car with this drop top. It just comes off very arrogant, very narcissistic. Just the whole thing annoys the hell out of me. So, I still haven't even finished the other part also. Yeah, this freaking man's, he gives me shady vibes too. But before I get into the part of the interview, she alleged that Christine, and she told the neighbor this, and she alleged that Christine tried to make her OD. She had already taken this medicine in the morning. And what's so crazy is the fact that you can tell that Natalia was a child, because Natalia was taking this medicine that she was told to take by the Barnetts, allegedly. Even though she wasn't living with them, she was still doing what they told her to do, even though they were out of sight. They were nowhere to be found. She was still taking this medicine because I truly think in the back of her mind, she really felt like, I must have really been bad, or I'm a horrible person to be here by myself. So I'm going to do whatever I can to try to have them be nice to me and accept me. That's the vibe that I was getting. So literally, she took the medicine that morning. Christine came over and made her take it 2 more times on top of that, to the point where this girl said she blacked out, she fell out. And again, it was only by the grace of God. And again, that's why I'm saying her name, Natalia Grace, that she survived again. There were so many things that could have taken this girl out. Like, it's just so many things that could have taken this girl out. And yet, and still, she still survived. That's when in my opinion, that she truly has a calling on her life from God. She does. She has a calling on her life from God. I don't know if her story is going to heal people, or she's actually going to, end up being a social worker for kids or a therapist or whatever. Another thing that bothers me before I get into the interview is that she mentioned that she wants to be able to go back to school and get her diploma. Now, explain to me how, mans, you have this child for 10 years and nothing could be done for her to be able to continue her education, even with the illegal age change. What was she doing for the 10 years with y'all? She wasn't in school? Help me understand this. Was she not in school for 10 years? What was she doing? And what were you doing with these alleged SSI checks if she wasn't going into school or anything else? Like $500 a month. Wow. Did they say it was 500? Where I'm getting 500 from? Maybe I felt like they said her SSI check for 500. 500 a month. She ain't eating $500 a month worth of food. So the fact that she said she wants to go back to school and get her diploma and stuff, what was she doing for 10 years? What was the education status? Why wasn't she in school? I got questions, y'all. And I hope they answer those questions in season 3. Hey, Teef, I hope they answer those questions, because I'm like, 10 years of them, they showing you love, but are they showing you education? Are they showing you how to actually be a actual, you, when you grow into an adult, how you can be a law-abiding citizen who will be able to survive in society? Or did they show you love but always wanted you to be dependent on them? So which one is, yeah, the adult center, but at the same time, she was going to that. She was going to that before the mans came into her life. She would walk over there before the mans came into her life. She said she'd been with the mans for 10 years. She started with them at 9, 10 years old. Where was her education? Why wasn't she put back in school? Why weren't they trying to do things in those 10 years to reverse her age to put her back in school? I have questions, because to me, if you truly was about loving this girl and truly being able to raise her up with the best education, raise her up so she can be, I'm saying, an adult in society that's going to be able to, manage, take care of herself, pay her bills and stuff like that. When she said diploma, I said, well, where the hell, what's been going on with school? At this point, she should have her diploma. You know what I'm saying? But to me, it's almost coming off like, as long as that check was coming in, this is my opinion, and it's alleged, as long as that check was coming in, they didn't care about the education process. I mean, did she even get elementary? Did she pass elementary? Did she pass middle school? Like, I got answers. I mean, I got questions and I need answers. So with that, she has so many stories. She talked about the psychiatric hospital and how she was in the kids section at first, and they put her in the adult section. And then from the hospital, they put her in a halfway house. When I tell you this story is sick. Hey, Bobby, when I tell you the story is sick, it's mind-blowing what this girl has gone through, and the fact that she can still smile. Hell, even in pictures when she was a young girl, like those pictures that she showed the DePauls, when the DePauls was saying that they saw a picture of her, when she had the cuts on her face and the actual black eye, she still looked like she's trying to smile. And this baby has been through hell and back, and she's still trying to smile in the picture. And it's just like, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, but it just really shows, in my opinion, the celebrity of it all. And what do I mean by that? That you don't question someone who has influence and money. That's the way that it gave me with this whole Barnett situation and what we clearly see in society today. You know what I mean? We see in society today that you have money, you have influence, you have celebrity, you have status. You're not supposed to be questioned. Everything you do has to be right because you have followers. You have money. You have this, when in reality is, just because someone has that doesn't mean they're a good person. Just because they pretend to be nice people don't mean that they are truly demons inside that soul of theirs, that dark, twisted soul. So to me, all of this went on because no one was able to sit up there and stand up to this woman and her trifling ass husband, because of the fact that they have money and this influence of, being able to create their son into a quote unquote genius. It's sad, it's sick, and it's twisted. And I am truly hoping that this year and years to come, people start getting exposed more and more, so people can finally wake up and stop looking at people with social media influence and all of this bullshit as a means to say that they have to be right because they have some type of following. It's sick and it's twisted. But let's get back to the final interaction with Michael and Natalia. Which, by the way, Natalia be dressing, honey. She had her a nice little cute dress and she put a little belt on. I was like, okay, Natalia, I see you, boo. I see you. So, she, of course, and this is just now Natalia, and it's Michael punk ass Barnett. And so it's no longer Mance, it's no longer the attorney, it's just them and the production team. And of course, immediately, they start off where they left off on why did he even marry her? And of course, Michael, who likes to live in fantasy land. Like, I love movies, as we know, I love TV, but I don't compare every life situation to it, especially something where someone is accusing you of some very sick, twisted, and evil things. So this sorry ass says, we had the same monster. We had the same monster. Have you seen Monsters Inc.? You know how like all the monster, like the monster was going all to the kids' houses and stuff like that, or going to the kids, and they had the same monster and they didn't know. Well, yeah, we had the same monster. Shut the hell up. Really? So you start off immediately by saying, I'm the victim just like you. I am the victim, just like you. We both had the same monster. We had the same situation. No, you didn't. Because, like Natalia said, which is why I said this girl is not stupid at all. No, you didn't have the same monster. You know why? Because she couldn't defend herself. He could. He could, which is another thing. They talked about the whole weapon situation that she got from the kitchen. I can't say the actual words. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And she said, not only she said that didn't happen, but she said she can't even grip that correctly to be able to cause any harm. And we clearly see that she was showing that she tried. She can't do it. So I don't know how much of that story I believe either. But with that being said, he plays victim. And so, he's like, literally at that point, she's questioning him and talking to him and, giving him the 21 questions like, what about this? What about this? And he was like, whoa, well, there's a lot to talk about here. And she's like, well, elaborate. Because she was like, you're saying that you're a victim. Elaborate. And he was like, you want to give me some time? This is not easy. He got snarky with her. I don't know if y'all catch that, but he got snarky with her. Like, he was getting impatient with her. Like, can you give me some time? It's not easy. I'm sorry, you piece of shit. But you're the one who put this girl through hell. And I'm sorry. In my opinion, he's the one who put her through hell just as much as Christine. Point blank, period. Then you want to get an attitude with her. And you could tell at that point, even Natalia picked up on his attitude. And she kind of sat up there and was over it and kind of rolled her eyes. Because she's like almost like, who the hell do you think you're talking to? So, at that point, she, talks about, anytime they talk about the beatings and all of that, you can tell like she holds her head, she starts crying. Like, it is so hard for her to even hear the stories, and he being animated as hell, being all extra dramatic, not even caring or picking up on the fact that this is so traumatic for her to deal with. So at that point, literally they, in the process of them doing this whole back and forth, we apparently see that the man's apparently, because they have one of their 11 kids talk to the interviewers, the production, and says that, you know, she loves her sister, but she was like, but don't tell her this. Like, I'll tell you, but don't tell her. She bit me once or whatever. And she said, you know, she bit me once. And so at that point, we see a video of Natalia actually talking to the baby, and she's talking to the baby in a way that doesn't sound like baby talk or the nicest way. But again, we are dealing with a girl who has dealt with a lot of verbal and physical abuse. So she probably was, when she, what was she calling her? Like, she was calling a baby like a brain or a brainiac or a dummy or whatever she was calling a child. It definitely didn't seem like the most positive reinforcement. But again, we're talking about Natalia that doesn't really understand positive reinforcement. So apparently, when I guess they went to the hospital, they claimed the man's pretty much said they wanted nothing to do with her. They were done with her, or whatever the case may be. This was in a report, and how, you know, the man's even said that. So the attorney came back and was like, Michael's attorney, like, see, this is another family that claims that they can't deal with Natalia and her aggressive, you know, behavior and what she does. Let the mans tell it, though. They never used those words. That never came out of their mouths. Quite interesting when we see the end of this dang on season, though. So just hold on to that. They claim they didn't say any of that. They claim they don't know who wrote that, but peep what they said at the end of this season. But with that being said, that's when the attorney was like, all of these families having the problems, like pretty much saying she's a sociopath, like she knows what she's doing, she's not innocent. Mind you, this attorney is talking about a child. So at that point, when we get back to the actual interview, because of course they're like doing cuts of it. So at that point, you know, she asks about the age change. She said, well, what was the conversation about the whole apartment situation? And what was the topic to even take me to that apartment? He was like, well, I mean, you were legal. You were legal, and you know, we set you up to get you an ID and everything, you know, and have a place to stay. And so she said, well, let's talk. Well, that happened after, but she said, let's talk about the age change. Diva came out, bitch assness came out. We weren't going to talk about that. They said that we know. I told them verbatim, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about the age change. Well, for someone who claims that you were a victim and claims that you had nothing to do with this and this was all the monster Christine, why are you saying you don't want to talk about it? Maybe because you're just as guilty? Maybe. And maybe also because you know that she has every legal right to sue you and Christine. But he shut down really quick and went into straight up diva mode, queened out, and literally was like, we're not about to talk about that. So she was forced to change the subject and talked about the whole apartment situation. And talked about that. He lied about the pepper spray situation. She said she was pepper sprayed twice. He claims he had just recently found out about it. One of the attorneys, who is an activist, who I really liked, I forgot the lady's name. She's the white lady with kind of like the blondish hair. She said that's a lie, because we saw a clip of him actually saying in his other dramatic interview that he knew about the pepper spray incident. So just blatantly lying. Just blatantly lying. So at this point, hey, May, at this point, literally, and you guys definitely hit the like button. So at this point, literally, you know, she's crying. She's giving her story. He starts crying. In my opinion, he did everything he could to get them tears out. I am shocked he didn't shit on himself the way he was pushing them damn tears out. To me, they weren't organically flowing, in my opinion. He was doing everything he could for them tears to drop. Okay. Literally, whatever he definitely, that's why I say, who is a sociopath? Because whatever energy or whatever emotions that Natalia was picking up or what was going on with her, he wanted to make sure that he matched it. So that's why I was like, who is really the sociopath here? They talking about she the sociopath. Who's really the sociopath? So at that point, she's telling her story. He's telling his. He's still playing victim. He does apologize. He does. But do I believe it? Hell, do y'all believe it? I don't believe it. I think at this point, he's trying to do anything he can to avoid a civil lawsuit. That's my opinion. He's trying to do anything he can to not be civil, because of course there was no criminal charges. Like, he was found not guilty, Christine was dismissed, so the only option at this point is a civil lawsuit. I feel like he's doing whatever he can to get that off of his back and put it on Christine. I do. So with that, she was like, do you realize like what this did to me? And so literally at that point, the attorney still talking shit, and I could not stand Michael's attorney, just like I couldn't stand Christine's attorney. He was like, are all these families lying? Are all of them lying? Like, all of these people can't be lying. Well, there are kids that I call, remember the old school movie Bebe's Kids? There are kids who have behavioral problems. Even kids who haven't gone through any of the stuff that Natalia has been through, who have been in the foster care system or even not in the foster care system. Maybe they just don't have the best of parents, have been known to have behavioral problems everywhere they go. Does that make them a sociopath who's lying about their age? Hell no. It just means they have behavioral problems. You know what I mean? She doesn't know right from wrong. She literally has seen violence happen to her and probably other people. Like, seriously. So to me, that doesn't prove anything besides the fact, like, okay, she was a child who had trauma, and that trauma, she lashed out on other people. Not in a way that they were saying, but like lashed out where, okay, you biting it, she bit a baby. Why did she bite that baby? Probably because she was bit. You know what I'm saying? It's just like no one is thinking logically like this. And the attorney, though, is not paid to think logically. The attorney is just there to protect his client, which is why I said I couldn't be an attorney. Because like they say, they lie for a living. They lie for a career. And a lot of them have to sell their souls for a career. So at that point, this is very big of her. Let me tell you something, because literally, God bless Natalia. She says, I forgive you. And he's like, you don't have to. And she's like, I forgive you. Everyone deserves a second chance. And she said, can I pray for you? Powerful, y'all. Now, if it was me, especially at that age, I'm getting better, y'all. I'm getting better. But at that age, I would have said, can I pray? Let's kneel. And I would have kicked them in the ding dong. Sure would have. Kicked them in the peen. I would have said, I forgive you. Come on, let's pray. Boom. That's what I would have did. That's what I would have did, just to get a little taste of pain. That's what I would have did at 19, 20 years old. But she's so mature, and she up there really praying for him. God bless you, Natalia, because it couldn't have been me back then. I'm trying my best now. But I would tell you, even now, it'd be hard for me. But back then, at 19, 20 years old, all the stuff you've been through, and literally, you say, can I pray for you? And she prays for him. Couldn't have been me. Couldn't have been me. So then he walks out, and he's like, forgiveness wipes it all away. No, it don't. Forgiveness is for Natalia, not really for you. But I hope even in her forgiving him, she still sues him. I really hope she still sues him. Because the reality is she still didn't get the answers that she wanted. And the problem is because he didn't want to be seen as a bad guy. Well, you're already considered a bad guy. I think the public will respect you even more if he would have just told the truth. She really wants to know why her age was changed, but I think to a certain extent she's gotten some ideas as to why, especially now with the whole Canada situation. They wouldn't have never let her in. They would have never let her in probably into Canada because, Canada has free health care, but she would have required a lot of health care. So that's one theory that's out there, allegedly, is one theory. But of course, that she just wasn't fitting into their plan anymore. I think she is aware of that. She just wants to hear from them. But she didn't get all the answers that she wanted. She had to continue and ask other things because he refused to talk about it. So as far as I see it, wait, what prayer be witchcraft? Brother, what you talking about? That's what Tabitha Brown did for Wendy Williams, and we ain't seen the queen of media since. Huh? Okay, we don't have to talk about that. I'm about to open up if people want to come up and talk. But for the most part, she forgives him. He says forgiveness wipes it all the way. I hope she sues. Even in this, when she's talking about forgiving him, she still has a smile on her face, little cutie pie. It just truly shows that I truly hope these type of stories more and more. We got people getting exposed left and right. We have to do better as a society where we think that social media followers and things like that makes people automatically right, and people don't have the discernment to understand that some of these people can be very trifling and done some very shady things and will do shady things, but because they think they're popular, that makes them right. I think this was a prime example of that. And that's the reason why they were able to get away with this for so long. That literally they just allowed it because of who they were. To the point where a little girl was pretty much sacrificed because of it. You know what I mean? She was sacrificed because of it. So, and literally it's just ridiculous how you have these grown people in this actual documentary who's defending this stuff. Like my morals and my integrity, I wouldn't have been able to represent a Barnett, period. I just wouldn't be able to. Because I honestly, like, I just don't see, if anything, it's almost like it's just come one, come all corrupt, all shady people. I'll represent you. Like, to me, I thought the law was supposed to be about justice, but more and more we see that it really isn't. It really isn't. And that was a good example of that. This whole thing was a good example of that. But then let's talk about the ending. She gets adopted by the Mans, okay? She gets adopted by the Mans. They go through the whole process of getting her adopted. The Mans cry and all of that stuff. Like, they're so happy they're officially the parents. And next thing you know, at the end, Natalia's, catching us up on what she plans to do. At the end, we hear the Mans in 6 months, and I think 2 weeks after she's adopted, we hear the man, mainly who's always talking, Antoine, whatever his name is, man, saying Natalia is tweaking and how she only cares about herself, and we are absolutely done with her, and we don't want nothing else to do with her. Mind you, in that paperwork, apparently, that the Michael's attorney was talking about, apparently some of that same verbiage was given at the hospital. So I find it interesting that all of a sudden they claim they didn't say that with the hospital situation, but they're kind of using the same verbiage with this. So did y'all really say it? And then you realize, allegedly, maybe, oh, we need that check, so we need her to come back. And then now, because they're saying allegedly their spat is about money, now that she's probably getting money from this documentary and everything else, and she is deciding to keep her money, which she absolutely should. And if you guys were true, genuine parents, she should keep every bit of money. Now that I guess maybe allegedly they're saying she don't want to share it. Now she tweaking and they don't want nothing to do with her. I'm waiting for season 3. I really want to see a season 3 because I want to know what her version of that story is. And with the DePauls, I'm curious to know if the DePauls kept in contact with her during the time with the Lafayette situation in Indiana. And apparently they showed that picture. Now, I could have sworn I heard that, and y'all let me know. I could have sworn they said that they got a picture of her while she was in the Lafayette apartment. If that is the case, why what was going on there? So unless they're trying to say that they got those pictures after when she left, but to me it sounded like they were trying to say that she was still in touch with them. That's what it sounded like to me. So I still have a lot of questions that I want answered. So hopefully there will be a season 3 because there's a lot of things that are still not making sense to me. She must didn't want to give them power of attorney or something. Nothing is wrong with her mentally. Nothing at all. Which I'm hoping once she turned, because I'm assuming she's going to have those disability checks for the rest of her life because of her disability. So I'm hoping when she turned 18, you know what I'm saying, she definitely got them. But again, they probably try to say it wasn't just physical, it was mental. But I'm hoping after this, she has control of those checks. I really do. And all the other checks that are going to be coming to her, because her life story truly can be, while as painful as it is, Natalia's story can be life-changing for her. I could truly see her getting a lot of deals, book deals. I can see her getting paid for interviews. I can see her getting a lot of money for all of her trauma. I really can. I really can. And you know who saw that even more? Probably everybody else around her. I just really hope that she truly finds genuine people who's like, I don't care about your money. I got my own. You use that money to establish yourself. You get yourself together. I am just here to support you and unconditionally love you. That's what I am praying for when it comes to Natalia, because truly she was let down. And honestly, she's not the only one who's let down by the system. She's not. Now, another thing I want to say before I let people up, if you guys want to talk, what if Natalia was black? Or what if Natalia was brown? Would this story have gotten the attention? Does it make you wonder? And not saying that at the end of the day, I cried with her just like I would cry with any other child, because I am really big on children. I'm big on humanity, period, and people getting treated like, we're not perfect, but there's definitely evil in this world that purposely likes to treat people horribly. And I definitely think this is a situation with Natalia. So I still cry. A child is a child, a person is a person. But I wonder, had Natalia been black or brown? Had Natalia been Nikisha? Had Natalia been a black girl or a brown girl? Would this have been the same attention? Because do we see these type of stories? The only time that we get these stories for the most part is when, say for instance, like we had the Carlina White story when Carlina was abducted, out of, the hospital, whatever the case may be. But we not gonna act like that a Natalia Gray story getting abused by her foster parents or, people like that. We're not gonna act like this is only a Natalia Gray story. There are plenty of stories out there. Plenty. Now, you may not have a lot who have parents legally change their name and put them in an apartment, but what you do hear about and have heard, or you see kids who are very young, just randomly out in the street with no adult around, and you wondering where they are, whatever the case may be. We don't know where the adult is. We don't know if that child is living off on the streets. you know what I'm saying, you hear about those stories, but why aren't their stories being told too? Like, I feel like Natalia Grace needs to be the beginning of so many stories that need to be put out there that are happening to these kids, and it needs to be exposed. These foster freaking parents need to be exposed. There you go. There's a story. Start exposing these foster parents, these foster homes. Now that'll be a reality show I will watch. That would be a reality show I would watch. Just like y'all want to do cheaters and stuff like that, let's talk about system cheaters. Let's talk about people who sit up there and use these kids as money versus truly giving them unconditional love and taking care of them for all the right reasons. Let's do a show about that. Let's do hidden cameras in these foster homes. Let's do that. Let's do that. So with that being said, you guys, I did drop the link. I'll drop it again if somebody wants to come up and kind of give their opinion on it. And then also for those who, you know, maybe don't want to come on the panel and also are listening to this on the replay, gang, look, also put in the comments, what do you want to see in season 3? What are your questions? Because I'm sure a lot of people have been watching this. There's still question marks on a lot of things. What do you want to see in season 3? What did you think about it? How do you feel about the situation? Because it is heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking. It definitely, but there's a lot of question marks that I still have. And not question marks in a sense of side-eyeing Natalia. I have a lot of question marks with everybody surrounding Natalia. And that's the crazy part. It's like I'm looking at everybody else. And I'm curious and I really want to know, does she have any genuine people? Does she have really any genuine people around her? Because she's still young, y'all. She's still only 19, 20 years old. We still were impressionable at that age. A lot of us were still then. And on top of the fact that she definitely wasn't, she was 8, 9 years old. So I hope she's in therapy and I hope she truly has at least one person around her that's around her for the right reasons. All right, so I don't see anybody wanting to come up, and I know it's kind of late. So with that being said, you guys, I appreciate you guys listening in. This was definitely it. This did a number on me. Now I know that you guys, yeah. And the way the internet works today, I wouldn't be shocked if they do. I wouldn't be shocked if they do. I would not be shocked if they do. You know, I definitely this was a powerful documentary. It took a lot out of me though, and what I mean by that is just the emotional up and down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the emotional up and downs of what was going on with her. Like, I just don't like people being mistreated. So yeah, it definitely took a toll on me. I know that you guys want me to cover the Gypsy Rose. I will try my best to look into that, but I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous about the whole Gypsy Rose situation. Like, I'm like, if I was looking at this like in tears, I don't know what's about to happen with Gypsy Rose, but I know a couple of you guys mentioned it, so we'll definitely get into that. I'll look at it and see if it's something that I feel, you know, we can definitely do dialogue on, or we can have a discussion about. Let me see what you're saying. They need to make legislation that prevents someone's age being changed before it's investigated and a DNA test taken. They definitely do. They definitely do. I absolutely agree with you on that. But at the same time, it sounds like they didn't properly do what they needed to do in the beginning, which is why I said she needed to sue the state. That's why I said she definitely needs to sue the state. So with that, I don't know, because I honestly, if I'm gonna be honest with you, brother, I really don't care. I know you mentioned that Nicki Minaj stuff. I don't give a shit. If I could be honest with you, I don't care. The last time I even was slightly intrigued about a rap beef, it was Little Kim and Foxy Brown. So that should just show you how much I really don't care about that. it's not really given that I really want to talk about that. Like it's just not. And then there's plenty of people who are already talking about it, but yeah, I can't do it. I don't think I have the capacity to really talk about it. Now, what I have not seen yet is Mariah with Carlos King chiming in about that. I may talk about that in a WTF. I may talk about that because it seems to be that that's more intriguing. That's more intriguing than the actual show itself. But yeah, with that being said, you guys, I'll definitely, see what I could talk about with another or next WTF Weekly. These were kind of the WTFs. Of course, I didn't put it big on there because I felt like it was more important to really talk about what I was feeling when it came to the Natalia Grace documentary. But with that being said, we'll definitely I'll do a WTF Weekly maybe sometime if I can this weekend or definitely next week. But other than that, it'll be the normal power. I'll try to do Married to Medicine. I'll try. I'm just kind of over it. And of course, our Life After Lockup, because this will be the actual season finale coming up. So, with that being said, you guys, for those who want to continue to have a conversation as far as Natalia Grace and what your opinion is on it, please leave your comments. For those who are new, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for listening into this show. It was definitely a very dark topic. I know it was triggering, but again, you guys know I'm not just about the clown and other reality shows. I like to talk about the real. I like to talk about different topics. So this is definitely one, while uncomfortable, we needed to talk about, and we definitely need to look at these situations in the future to make sure that we don't have more Natalia Graces growing up, not just in the US, but all over the world. But we need to just make sure that we truly expose the nonsense and really bring back humanity when it comes to how we treat people, and stop thinking that social media has created the new humanity, because it hasn't. Social media, as we can see more and more, is demonic and is dark. So we need to get back to the right humanity. So with that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much, and I will see you on my next video. Toodles.